ARCA Menards Series Racing on Fox is brought to you by General Tire, #GT Delivers, and by Reese's. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's, not sorry. Quite the unique perspective of the opening sector of Lime Rock Park. Trevor, you've been fortunate enough to race here before. This place looks like a blast.
It is, Eric, and you can see all the back and forth right here. You're seeing turns 3 and 4 and how you got to set those up. You know, turns 1, 2, 3, 4, they all kind of connect. One mistake early segues to the next mistake in the next corner, and then you see here the Paul Newman straight-ish, we'll call it. I don't know if that's a straightaway, Phil.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but one thing that I see is how narrow this place is. We talk about having room to pass. There's barely room for cars to go side by side down this racetrack.
As the cars roll off on their parade and pace laps, let's take a look at our Menards starting lineup. Thomas Annunziata and Brent Cruz making up the front row, and a pair of drivers we heard from earlier. Second in points, Lawless Allen and Alon Day making up row 2.
How about Butterbean Queen? First ever road course race. Actually tested earlier this week at VIR for a little bit of experience. Nice job in 5th.
Yeah, in row 4, Del Quarterly, a double-duty driver, just ran the truck race earlier at Isabella Robusto, a promising young female on the Toyota side. She was at VIR testing a little bit this week in a GR Cup car.
Lamar Scott slated to start inside of row number 5. He'll drop to the rear due to unapproved adjustments. And Glenn Reen, another modified winner in the field, won the season finale at Thompson back in 2011. He's rounding out your top 10 starters.
And both of his parents have raced here at Lime Rock, his mother and father.
Let's take a look at the rest of the field. Ed Pompa makes his return with the Fast Track team. And many other journeyman racers and drivers, including Brad Smith, who last time out made his 450th ARCA Menards Series start. The team shared this is not only his 451st, obviously, but his 52nd different racetrack in his 24th different state or province.
And I would guess Brad probably has more starts in his career than the rest of the field combined by double or triple maybe.
Smith will be anchoring the field as you see the cars continuing to navigate their way around this incredible racetrack. Let's get some pre-race reports. We'll kick things off with Caitlin Vincey.
Well, Eric, one driver who has had such an impressive campaign in 2025, Brendan Butterbean Queen. He's a 3-time winner so far this year. Talked with him earlier, and he said, yeah, it's been a great year. But as far as this goes, road course racing, he says, I don't have much experience with this at all. He said, I grew up, of course, on the short track, so this is a brand new challenge for me. So he said he had to put in a lot of extra time with sim and iRacing. Also said he leans a lot on the resources with Josh Wise and the Chevy program. But Brendan Butterbean Queen hoping he can make something happen here at the road course of Lime Rock. Alex?
Caitlin, you mentioned experience may be key when it comes here to Lime Rock Park, and for number 55 of Isabella Robusto, she's making her first ever ARCA Menards Series start on a road course. Now, I talked to her pre-race, and she told me she spent all of the time this week prepping the only way that they can with tons of sim time. She watched those Trans Am races. She's talked to Thomas Annunziata and Brent Cruz, her Toyota teammates. But Trevor, I know that you work well with Isabella and that Toyota development team. So for a driver who's never raced at this racetrack, never raced on a road course in a stock car, how do you prep those drivers to get ready for this race today?
Yeah, it's really important for them to get as much exposure as they can before they get here on the simulator, on iRacing, getting racecraft, and just, you know, asking the right questions, going to their teammates like Isabella said. As we come into turn 6 here, we're getting close to this first restart. Eric?
Hard to believe there's a venue like this that the ARCA Menards Series has never been to. That changes today. The 9th race of 2025 getting set to get underway. The first ever Lime Rock Park 100, and we've got one of the best to help get it started at a place near and dear to his heart. Thomas Annunziata brings us down for green. Mike Joy waves the green flag, and we're underway and in the grass on the approach to turn 1. Oh, and Annunziata locks it up. He goes around. Cruz goes around as well.
Unbelievable start. I think Lawless Allen had some brake lock up there, maybe ran in the back of Annunziata.
Yeah, that is not the way our 2 road course ringers wanted to start this race. We saw Lawless Allen get off in the grass down the front stretch, get into the corner hot with that grass on the track, pushing Annunziata. Annunziata slid up. I don't know if he caught Brent Cruz or if that was kind of 2 incidents happening at one time, but definitely 2 of our fastest front runners having issues early.
Points leader Butterbean able to get up to second to avoid the carnage. Allen the leader. Alon Day to third. Dale Quarterly fourth. Ryan Gemmel in his second career ARCA start, rounds out the top 5. Down the hill to complete lap 1.
Let's go back here. That's Lawless Allen you see off the racetrack. Brent Cruz kind of comes down.
You see the brake lock up. I think he ran in the back.
Absolutely, and he slid up into Brent Cruz, and that was a chain reaction.
That number 70 is a Nitro Motorsports entry, but there is Venerini Motorsports assistance. That was a Venerini car that tagged the back bumper of that 70 car in turn 1.
Well, and you might ask, Eric, how did Lawless get out in the grass? How did he overdrive turn 1? These drivers have been on track essentially with nothing blocking their view for the whole practice and qualifying. They've got a clear reference of where they're headed. When you go out behind somebody for the first time in a road course, you lose all your brake markers. You lose reference. It's a very flat racetrack, so no banking to look up at the grandstands, which there are no grandstands here, by the way. But a lot of damage there we see right away to the 70 car.
You know, those guys lost all their track position. This is not an easy place to pass. They're going to get through a lot of this field because they're so much faster than a lot of these cars. But when they get up towards the top 10, then it's going to get more difficult. So they certainly have their work cut out for them.
Well, think of the frustration, Phil. Thomas mentioned that last restart of the truck race. He just lost, 6, 7 spots in that truck race because of a restart. Then he goes down in turn 1 for the very next time and gets pushed out of the way by 20 of Lawless Allen.
Yeah, he finds himself 17 seconds behind our leader right now, Lawless Allen. We know we're going to have a race break around halfway, so that we'll be able to bunch up the field if we don't get a caution before that.
That's Austin Vaughn in the Maples Motorsports number 67, late add to the field in this car. And I believe he's been stationary for quite some time on what is, I would say, the middle sector of the Big Bend.
Yeah, not where you want to be sitting with other cars coming. We've seen a lot of people get off track there. If he cannot get refired soon, which it looks like he may be, could be a caution.
So contrary to what we saw in the truck race, our front row ends up backwards in turn 1 on lap 1, and we see a caution just 3 laps into the ARCA Menards Series contest.
A huge break, though, for Annunziato and Brent Cruz. I'll let them catch up with the field for sure.
Yeah, Annunziata able to maintain 11th there for Brent Cruz, a little further back at 14th. I would imagine they could recover here, but it's going to make their day a lot longer.
So the first caution of the day involves Austin Vaughn in the Maples Motorsports car in turn 1. That's been the hot spot so far in this race for the Lime Rock Park 100. The race started with fireworks. Lawless Allen currently the leader. You're watching the Lime Rock Park 100 under our first caution. Welcome back to the ARCA Menards Series Lime Rock Park 100. Working our first caution after number 67 of Austin Vaughn got turned around and was unable to refire. We had a couple of moments before that, though, that didn't draw the yellow, but certainly drew the most interesting moment of the race thus far.
Yeah, you see Lawless Allen go off track again early as Thomas Annunziata was close to the grass, and then right here just missed his braking zone. Not even a chance there, Phil.
Yeah, he wouldn't have made the corner if Annunziata hadn't have been there.
Let's get an update on some of the cars involved in that turn 1 lap 1 carnage. Here's Caitlin.
Yeah, Eric, Brent Cruz in the 18 was one of them. Of course, his crew chief, Matt Ross, very calmly said, hey, we got plenty of time to get this back. Everything is fine with the car. We've gotten a good look at it, good look at the tires. Just be patient on the restart. So Brent Cruz still hoping to make something happen. Just finished up the truck race just a bit ago. One of the drivers doing double duty here today. Alex?
Yeah, the other driver involved in that on the flip side, who has been very animated and frustrated, Annunziata, they're telling him, his team and his crew chief, calm down, focus, and take care of it.
Back underway, and there's the land rush to turn 1. Corley way deep in the corner.
Woo! Could not keep it on the racetrack.
That's when confidence exceeds grip right there, guys.
Second verse, same as the first. Quarterly, though, is the one to get drop kicked down the running order. He keeps the car back on track. Lawless Allen, the leader. Now a long day up to second. And here's Cruz and Annunziata trying to cut their way through the field.
See the 18 of Cruz inside the 55 of Robusto. It's a battle for just about the top 10.
He's going to let 70 of Thomas Annunziata make these holes, and he's going to try to fill the gap behind as they go by the 6 here. LeVar Scott not able to quite get there as quick as Thomas Annunziata, but looking for turn 7 here. A great place to set up his next passing zone. If he can carry speed off, you can look to the inside to the braking zone into 1.
But how about that start for LeVar Scott? We didn't mention that he had to go to the back of the pack for unapproved adjustments. Already worked his way up into the top 10.
Quarterly again up the inside. That was Robusto, the meat in the sandwich, who ping-ponged off Kitzmiller to the outside, and Quarterly will take that spot away.
Quarterly is a former winner at this racetrack. 3 times he's won here. He won twice in the old East Series, and he won a modified race here as well.
Here's Cruz and LeVar Scott battling for 8th. Cruz is going to take that spot away. Annunziata just up the road, chasing down Glenn Reen. Love that shot, watching these cars come up over. What Isabella Robusto told me, they call it the jump, and it looks like a jump.
I love the sound when the rear wheels get off the ground and the engine revs up.
Absolutely. You got to manage the throttle over that. You can't just stay in it. You'll spin the tires, so they're looking at that. And I like this shot off of turn 7. We see these drivers pushing the limit, trying to slide right out, use every inch of this 30-foot wide racetrack.
Oh, Annunziata getting wide there in turn 1. He might give up a spot to Cruz, who's just about to the inside, not quite.
That's a battle for the 6th spot right there, Eric.
You think about Annunziata and Brent Cruz that were just on a totally different tire and a totally different vehicle with their trucks for 100 laps, and so their lift points, their brake points, the way that it slips and moves around is going to be a little different. We saw Annunziata get in deep to turn 1 there. We didn't see that and make that mistake in the truck series, but I think it's going to take a few laps here to adapt to the different cars.
It's kind of amazing to talk about Brent Cruz being one of the more experienced guys in the field. And oh, by the way, he's 17 years old.
And he just had an off-track excursion there coming up over turn 6 before the downhill. Cruz is back up in the 7th spot after starting on the front row and being one of the pace setters in practice. He also is today's Suchi fast track driver for our race at Lime Rock Park. And Phil, you were talking about this young man. If you were to look at the resume and resume alone, you would think he was a veteran.
Yeah, without a doubt. He was a 3-time winner last year in the Cars Tour. Youngest winner ever in the Trans Am TA2 Series, as well as youngest champion ever.
Yeah, and what I like about Brent Cruz is he has a lot of confidence coming into this. You know, there are a lot of unknowns for a young driver, making his 2nd truck start ever earlier today, running this ARCA race today. But he carries himself like he's 25 years old and experienced. And, you know, we talked this week as we prepared for this race together, and he grew up with Connor Zilic, Jesse Love, those drivers. He spent a lot of time with them. We've seen the success that they've carried, and he's kind of hoping he can have that same trajectory.
And he's 2 for 2 in this car this year. He won the National Series race at Phoenix earlier this year. Then he won the East race at Rockingham.
They both just worked their way around Jeff Anton, making a return to ARCA competition. First ever ARCA National start in that 3 car, but he has 70 East Series starts. This is his first bit of national competition or even regional competition since 2012 as LeVar Scott cuts the grass off turn 2.
Slots in behind the 4 of Quarterly. See a slow car on the racetrack. That might have been the 67 of Vaughn. Battle for the lead is heating up, though. Alon Day, the 25, all over the back of the 20 of Lawless Allen.
Pair of Veterini Motorsports teammates ahead of the championship points leader Brendan Queen in his first competitive road course race ever. In the Pinnacle Racing Group 28, 3 cars locked together at the front of the pack.
One thing we talk about with experienced road racers like Alon Day is their ability to get into the corner, ability to really challenge the brakes, Phil. I know that Lawless Allen and Brendan Queen don't have a ton of experience on road courses, but Lime Rock is a really flowy racetrack. You kind of see these sections here, how they wind together. There aren't a lot of big braking zones. Turn 1, we've obviously seen the issues already there where you have to challenge the brakes. But everywhere else, to me, when I race there, kind of felt like the way you race at Oval. You're trailing off the brakes, you're rolling into the throttle, you're rolling a lot of speed. And I think that plays well for our regulars who have more experience with that type of racing.
I was fortunate enough in my career to race against people like Ron Fellows and Boris Said. It was amazing how they were able to brake. And to me, that's where a real road racer had an advantage, was braking. I'm still not sure how exactly they did it, but man, they do it well.
Yeah, they don't just drive in further, right? They can drive in further, but they can do that with technique that allows the car not to get so upset like maybe you or I would do if we made it to their brake point.
That 29 car, interesting story here, running in 4th position, chasing down the points leader in Brendan Queen. That's Ryan Gemmel. Gemmel is from Pennsylvania, and back in 2021, reached out to Joe Nemechek, former NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, on a flyer, asking if there were any internship opportunities at Nemco Motorsports. Joe welcomed Ryan down south, gave him the opportunity to work on some of the classic cars that Ryan started to race himself and do well in. Joe gave him the opportunity to run an ARCA car at Watkins Glen last year, finished 8th, and here he is in start number 2, right with the leaders.
Been talking to Joe today and yesterday, and they just dominate the historic vintage cars. And they're Xfinity cars, X-Cup cars. They just dominate that series. Both of them winners in that series.
Those things look fun to drive, Phil. They are not your typical Craftsman truck engine or Busch Series engine. They've got some horsepower
plus.
And they are in action this weekend. I spoke to Ryan during the middle of the week, and I said, where's the focus? He said, solely on this ARCA opportunity. I want to make the most of this.
Yeah, definitely a good battle up here at the front. 3 cars within reach of each other, just looking for the next driver to make a mistake.
And right behind them, here comes Annunziata and Brent Cruz, now within 3 seconds of our leader.
Cruz and Annunziata the fastest lap times that last lap. We see the leaders got hung up behind the 29 car there for a lap or so. We'll see if they can pick up some pace now that they've cleared him.
I mentioned that we would have that mid-race break, and I don't think these guys are going to need that mid-race break. They're just about there now.
Let's get an update on the driver who came into this race 3rd in points and had to start from the back, LeVar Scott. Caitlin's got more.
Yeah, you guys referenced the fact he started behind the 8-ball in the back of the field, but I spoke about the consistent season he's been having with him. 6 top 5s, 8 top 10 performances, and he said, I say this in the most humble way possible. It has still been disappointing because I think we need to be winning races at this point in the year. But he did add, overall, this team does not make a lot of mistakes. He was very complimentary of his crew chief, who has the ability to take top 10 cars into top 5 cars. And once again, we're seeing the strength of this car making their way from the back towards the front once again. Eric?
And Phil, we talked after the heartbreak, essential heartbreak. He had a great car at Elko, a mechanical failure, had to shrug that off. He's been so close to victory lane so many times before, and he's focusing forward on this road course.
Yeah, he took that lead in the last portion of that race and said, well, maybe this is going to be the day. He had finished 2nd there last year, and then unfortunately had that mechanical issue. Still hung on to finish 7th, but that was a great shot at victory for him.
Guys, how about Thomas Annunziata and Brent Cruz? A half a second that last lap or more over the leaders as the battle heats up for the lead.
Alain Day has that lead now in the 25 car.
And how about this? The top 6, nose to tail, virtually locked together.
Well, this is what we hope for, right?
Hey, I'm glad Corey Himes not in this race because he just jumped off in that truck race with a big lead. Here comes a lead change.
Oh, we see Wallace Allen trying to run a lawn down the front stretch. He doesn't give way, though, able to still get to the inside into turn 1. But that's the ideal way to make a pass here. You can try in other places, but they can fight back the way it winds back and forth. Turn 1, if you get to the inside, they don't really have a choice, Phil. You can run them up the racetrack. You can do a lot of things to complete that pass.
How about this battle right here? Annunziata, Brent Cruz side by side. Cruz on the inside with the advantage.
He's going to look to try to get both cars here of Annunziata and Brendan Queen through turn 3 on the outside, but now he'll be back on the inside for turn 4.
Butterbean said, where did these guys come from?
Gemmel just made the pass to get to a podium spot. Queen trying to hold on to 4th. A little bit of lap traffic here.
Annunziata trying to pass into turn 5. We haven't seen that be successful yet, but he's able to complete it. Saw Brent Cruz try to cross him back over to get to the inside. Wasn't able to do so. Lap traffic in turn 6.
I love when we can hear the tires squeal over in this part of the racetrack.
Like that?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Right on cue. Catching those couple of cars, and Mike Basham and Ed Pompa kind of broke up that 6-car freight train we had at the front of the field. It gives everyone a chance to catch their breath with Alain Day, the pace setter.
And this battle here for Annunziata and Cruz could be the battle for the eventual lead. They know they're the fastest 2 cars. And so if you can get by, get clear, maybe put a car or two in between you. That could be the difference in being at the lead at our stage break.
That break will be coming on or around lap number 34. We're working lap 18 for the Lime Rock Park 100, round number 9 of the 2025 ARCA Menards Series season. Alande, the leader. We'll be back from Lime Rock right after this. Back at the Lime Rock Park 100 under our second caution after some pretty considerable impact on the final corner, turn 7, off the downhill sector of this racetrack involving Ed Pompa and Jason Kitzmiller. Both drivers have climbed from their car and are okay. And you get a look at them, both drivers walking away from the scene in what was, I would say, one of the worst places to have an incident, coming off a downhill run towards the tight right-hander to the main straightaway.
A little bit of contact between Anton in the 3 and Pompa in the 10. Pompa's going to sit there a while. What a job by that 6, LeVar Scott, avoiding that. Pompa sits in the middle of the racetrack, and you see the 97 of Kitzmiller come in. More than likely got there, saw him, tried to stab the brake, probably a little bit too much rear brake. Trevor, you mentioned during the commercial that it's a little bit off camber there.
Yeah, and it's tough to see, Phil, because there's so much elevation change. You're coming down a hill, a little bit of an arc into turn 7, and as you compress, he would have moved his eyes up and seen that 10 sitting there at the last second, jumped on the brakes, and the car's already on the limit. That's the corner where you hear the tires squealing every time they come through, and so as soon as he hit the brakes, car unloads, spins around, nothing he can do.
Yeah, Pompa was probably far enough around the corner that he didn't see him probably till very close to the last moment.
How about, though, the number 6 of LeVar Scott, we mentioned, had to go towards the back of the field, and he just barely got by Ed Pompa's car, and that's going to be a Reese's Sweet Move of the Race nominee. Don't forget, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, see who's crowned with this weekend's Reese's Sweet Move of the Race. Watch LeVar Scott squeeze to the outside of the 10 car.
And stayed on the racetrack as well. Great job by LeVar Scott.
So unfortunate ending for Ed Pompa, who's in his 19th season of ARCA Menards competition, and Jason Kitzmiller, who comes into this race 4th in driver's points. And with our next round at Dover, July 18th, being an East combination race, it's a chance we may end up seeing Jason go up against his son and current point leader on the East side, his son Isaac. But his foray at Lime Rock is going to come to an end, and it's going to bunch the field up a handful of laps ahead of what is to be our scheduled race break, which will come on or around lap 34. So we're about 13 laps shy from that, with Alande still the race leader. Well, ARCA ends up being the cherry on top of what's been an incredible day here at Lime Rock Park. The truck race earlier today was quite the headliner, Trevor.
It was. Corey Heim, from start to finish, dominated this race, but you see him on edge every lap. He slid out wide there. There's Tanner Gray coming through turn 1, does a little off-road. These trucks are not 4x4, keep in mind. Does a little landscaping there, but Corey Heim is able to win stage 1. Restart here with Lane Riggs down into turn 1. Stage 2. Off-roading there by Brent Cruz, who's in this ARCA race.
Brent went from 4th to 11th on that one restart.
He did. Corey Heim, same story. Stage 2, wins again. Red flag here for some fluid on the racetrack down the front stretch. They saw right as they were about to go green. Drivers sit, think about this restart. After this happens, that Mills stuck in the grass, needs a push to get going. That was with 9 laps to go.
Gives us a late restart. Now, this is when all the carnage begins.
This is it right here, Phil. You're going to see down into turn 1. 34 of Lane Riggs overdrives it. Everybody follows. Off track spin by Jordan Taylor. Rajat Karuth involved in that as well.
Connor Mozak was a big loser. He was in the top 5 prior to that restart.
And there's a black and white checker flag instead of the green and white for the stage break. That's what Corey Heim wanted to see. He's been so close so many times this year. Only 5 of those races has he won. Only 5,
Only
I said.
5.
But he should have won maybe, what, 13 of the 14, 15 races so far?
Quite possibly, quite possibly.
Here's the drivers who are trying to tackle both races. Dale Quarterly, Brent Cruz, Thomas Annunziata. Trevor, you're doing double duty as well. You're the only one who hasn't been off track yet in this
well,
race
I may have been at some
three.
point, but Phil and Michael Waltrip have pulled me back on.
Quarterly had trouble in the truck race, did not finish, but doing a nice job here. That's him right there in the 4-car running 7th.
So second yellow is out again for cleanup in turn number 7 after Ed Pompa, Jason Kitzmiller got together. You see Quarterly runs in the 7th spot after getting the car back on track. After our restart just prior to what we're about to see here with the Day, Lawless Allen, your front 2, Ryan Gemmel, whose story we've highlighted a couple of times already up to this point in the race, running 3rd. And Annunziata and Queen, your top 5. Cruz, Quarterly, Scott takes you back to 8th. Isabella Robusto, and Mike Basham, who just got the free pass the last time around. Jeff Anton rounding out your cars on the lead lap right now. Well, tonight, Baseball Night in America on Fox. 2 of the league's best face off as Kyle Tucker leads the Cubs against Jose Altuve and the Astros. Or you'll catch the Phillies taking on the Braves. Check your local listings for the game in your area tonight, 7 Eastern on Fox.
Just in case you were wondering, the Tigers have the best record in the major leagues, and they won today already. So just in case.
We won't talk about my New York Mets. We'll leave that for another day. Had a great conversation midweek with the president and CEO of this racetrack, Dickie Regal, and he said this is the biggest tentpole event of the year for this speedway. They've got more to come, including Grid Life, MiataCon, and so much more. But this was actually, even though this race was just announced last August, it said it was 3 years in the making to put this together and make this event possible, and it's so good to see the fans come out and support it the way they have.
You know, I was talking to Parker Kligerman, who is part of the ownership group for this racetrack, and he said this will be the biggest crowd that they've had in years, if not ever. And one other interesting thing he was telling me, and Trevor, I know you're familiar with iRacing, and how, you know, there's really not a lot, maybe not a track map for the OEM simulation for this racetrack, but everyone was on iRacing for this racetrack, and he said this is one of the first racetracks ever on iRacing. So if you started iRacing as in its infancy, you ran this racetrack.
Yeah, and Phil, a lot of the OEMs now, you know, because of the trucks coming here, have added that. They had access, but not all of our ARCA drivers have that level of support. They don't, you know, they're maybe not a key partner at Chevrolet or at Toyota or Ford. And so their time on that sim looks much different than what the truck drivers have. But even our truck drivers, Corey Heim, he was on iRacing running multiple races for the last month daily, you know, just going in and getting as many laps as possible.
Since the ownership group took over in 2021, their motto has been innovating a classic, keeping a lot of the traditional standards that make this track what it is, while also adding new and exciting events like the ARCA Menards Series in this track's 68th year of operation. Getting set for the restart. It'll be 44 to go in the race. Race break coming up at lap 34. Alonde and Lawless Allen bring us back down to green.
See if they can back up that braking zone this time into turn 1 for the restart. Pretty smooth there. Brent Cruz on the outside is going to get pushed wider than he wants to be.
How about Quarterly on the inside? He's side by side with Annunziata for right now.
Annunziata kind of boxed in behind Butterbean with Gemmel in the 29 to his inside. Now Quarterly gets a good drive off the corner, trying to beat Annunziata up towards the uphill.
And if Dell can stay there, he'll have the preferred lane for turn 5. Not able to do so, had to back up his entry a little bit.
A nice restart by Isabella Robusto right behind the 18 of Brent Cruz. That's her in the 55 Toyota.
Yeah, and Isabella has a ton of road racing background. GR Cup, Formula 3. She's run all kinds of cars. But this is the first car she's driven that's not a sequential or paddle shift at a road course, and that's a lot different for these drivers from a timing standpoint.
Yeah, her first National Series road course race, but ran Portland and Sonoma last year in the West Series, and had great finishes out there. 3rd at Portland.
Isabella doing a good job fending off LeVar Scott in what is a battle for 8th. And Trevor, you mentioned talking about our front row starters and Annunziata and Cruz after they got drop kicked to the back of the field. Once they got up to that top 10, top 5, the passes were going to get a little bit more difficult. So far, that's held true.
Well, and you've got to imagine they're asking a lot of their race cars right now. They had to close that gap. They caught the leaders, but now how much of their tires do they burn up? Once we have this break and they can get the equalizer, they can come down, work on their cars. The good news for them is they've challenged it. They know where the speed maybe is or isn't for their race car to get feedback to their crew chief. But I think once you see them get tires, they'll have equal playing field to try to go after Alonde, who's doing a phenomenal job out front of this field right now. Alex?
You guys are talking about Alonde running so well, making his ARCA debut, and Caitlin spoke with him pre-race about the difficulties of even trying to come and race in this race. But his spotter is giving him some interesting information, telling him that if they're going to keep dumping him in turn 1, he's going to have him run up on the high side and make sure that he avoids it. And so they're teaching him lap by lap of what he can possibly do to try to keep him out front there.
Well, Alex, I'm hoping he doesn't listen to his spotter, because you do not want to restart on the outside, I don't think, going in turn 1. So,
in fact, we heard Thomas Annunziata say that was his big regret from the truck race earlier today, just before this race started.
yeah, he said it was a mistake by the team and the spotter to have him restart on the outside.
Well, and we saw there's no safe place. Brent Cruz was on the outside, and he went around just like Thomas Annunziata did. So just got to make sure you get a good enough jump. That restart zone is at the very exit of turn 7. So if you go early enough, which they have a restart line in ARCA, not a zone, but it's that first line. And so you want to go as early as you can to try to leave your competitors in the corner of turn 7 there when you get a jump.
Nice pass by Brent Cruz on Quarterly that moves him up to the 6th spot.
Our biggest bit of contact today, in fact this weekend, was our most recent caution involving Ed Pompa and Jason Kitzmiller. Caitlin is with Jason.
Yeah, Eric, Jason checked and released from the infield care center. First, are you okay? And did that incident occur because your spotter didn't have a good visual of that point on the racetrack?
Nah, that's a tough spot on the track, and we just got a couple spots like that lap, so he was making good headway and come down around the turn, and when he was set there sideways, I could either went to the bushes or tried to brake, but we turned the car sideways and we just couldn't get stopped. Just in a bad spot.
We're glad you're okay. Jason Kitzmiller had that streak of top 10 performances in the last couple races that will come to a close today. Eric?
Thanks, Caitlin. Kitzmiller was running 11th at the time of this contact, and Jason, another driver in the field who did not have a lot of road racing experience. In fact, most of his road racing prowess came from winter heat at Charlotte Motor Speedway in a Legend car just earlier this year.
I was talking to his crew chief, Frank Kimmel. Everyone knows Frank Kimmel, 10-time champion, 80-time winner in the ARCA Menards Series. And he said that Jason had gone up to VIR this week. And I said, well, what kind of car was he driving? He said, you know, I don't know.
Quick check of Brayton Laster, who picked up a last-minute sponsor to partake in this race, driving for Wayne Peterson's team. As we check in on the front runner, starting 2, just as we saw in the latter stages of the last run, kind of accordion back together, at least from about 3rd on back.
Yeah, Alonde has opened up almost a second-half lead now over the second-running Lawless Allen. He's hard not to be a sentimental favorite with what Caitlin reported on what it took him to get here, and the fact where he lives right now, where his wife and family are.
Absolutely, and you know, because of the commitment it took to get here, that he's going to be fully committed to do everything in his power to win this race. If it gets down to the end of this thing, he will do anything to win and take advantage of this opportunity.
Longtime motorsports reporter Jim Utter put out a story this past weekend talking about how this opportunity came to pass, and Alon extended a lot of credit to his primary sponsor, GSSI, and their CEO, Neil Book. And Neil is the one who said, hey, I want to give you a shot to go over stateside and have a chance to maybe succeed in the motorsports career that you have always wanted and dreamed for. It's this 3-race opportunity here, Sonoma with the West Series and Watkins Glen. And so far, Alon is proving he's going to do whatever it takes to make the most of it. He has led the most laps so far today. In fact, next time by, he'll tie Lawless Allen with that mark, but he's opening up that gap.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time stateside that he has been in this top-notch equipment like he is here for the Venturinis, and he's certainly making the most of it.
Ryan Gemmel just had an off-track excursion. He's going to fall out of the top 5, back down to 10th at least. Car doesn't appear to be too worse for the wear. Just got to watch where the grass builds up on the front end of these race cars.
I think he's going to slot in the 7th spot. I saw Isabella right behind him, and she's running 8th.
That's all 4 wheels off the ground, or I should say off the racetrack. If it was off the ground, he'd have bigger problems. But as you said, Phil, lost a handful of spots back to that 7th spot.
There's not a lot of runoff areas at this racetrack, is there, Trevor, for somebody to be in trouble and keep it out of the wall?
Yeah, it's, you know, you definitely want to be the most cautious through 1 and 2. You see the line pushes out toward the grass. Once you drop off in the grass, there is a tire barrier there. Everywhere else, you know, you feel the car sliding as you see Lawless Alan here kind of pitching that car into turn 6 and now into turn 7. You are really at the limit of your rear tires everywhere around here, which I think is helpful because if it catches you off guard, you really don't know it's coming and it jumps out of nowhere, you lose the race car. When you're always on edge, it feels like you're tuned into what the car is doing and when you're going too far. So I think that's why we don't see too many get off track, but we see them so out of shape while they're on the pavement.
Yeah, had an hour practice yesterday. Very, very clean practice for the ARCA Series, as well as qualifying.
This little group of cars here tells me that maybe Lawless Alan doesn't have the speed of the next 3 cars behind him. They've been able to close that gap. Same thing with Alon Day when he was behind him. We saw the top 6 all gathered up. If Butterbean can get by Lawless Alan here, I think he's got a chance at matching lap times to Alon Day, but making that pass, where do you set it up? How do you manipulate that car in front of you to get by?
Here we talk about turn 1 being the best passing zone on this racetrack. If Lawless Alan can get off of turn 7, get down that front straightaway well and into the corner and keep Butterbean behind him and not let him make that dive bomb into the corner, then he should be able to hold on to this spot.
And the hard thing for Brennan Queen is you see right there, he's having to be defensive. He's having to block the entries because of the 70 behind him of Thomas Annunziata. He knows as soon as he opens that door to try to get a good exit, Thomas giving the bumper to him here. He said, all right, if air doesn't do it, I'll see if the Kevlar bumper will do it.
He might not wait till turn 1.
And this is a pivotal point in this race because the race break and caution is upcoming, which should be on or around the conclusion of this lap. As they work around Corey Aiken in the 34. And also it should be noted, we're 1 race shy of the halfway point in the 2025 season. No points reset. The battle for the championship is amongst the 20 and 28 right now, separated by 11 points coming into this race. That's desperately one car that wants to beat the other, with 2 of the outsiders and quick setters now battling for position behind them as Cruz goes way low on Annunziata.
That was a kind of dive bomb move there. That was hopefully it was going to make him make a mistake, and you'll do that from time to time here. Try to look under someone, make them overdrive the entry, but I see some damage to the front end of that 18 machine of Brett Cruz.
And there is the expected caution for the one and only race break with 34 laps to go after Alon Day had worked up a 3-second advantage over a 4-car fight for second. It will be the one and only shot for race teams to make adjustments and saddle up for the second half of this race. You're watching the Lime Rock Park 100 for the ARCA Menards Series. We're at the halfway point. Come on back for the finish. ARCA Racing on Fox is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards. And by Bounty. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. Working our 3rd caution of the race at Lime Rock Park for the Lime Rock Park 100 with the ARCA Menards Series. This for our scheduled race break. With 33 laps to go, essentially the one and only chance these race teams will have to make whatever adjustments are needed to get them ready to do battle. Final couple of cars coming into their position. Let's go to Alex.
Yeah, guys, you're seeing the 25 of Alon Day still out on the racetrack. Unfortunately, he missed pit in, so he was not able to come down pit road on that lap. They're telling him to save his brakes, keep hitting his marks. He's asking for a bottle of water because obviously it's gotten very hot inside of the race car, but he did say that the car is getting tighter, so he's asking for them to free it up. For the 20 of Lawless Alan, He's saying that the rear doesn't seem happy, so he brought it down pit road. He's having to drag the brake too long to settle it. He has no grip in turn 6. And speaking of getting hot, the wheel inside of that race car is 102 degrees, so they're going to bring it down pit road and work on the front and the back. Caitlin.
Alex taking a look at Brendan Butterbean Queen. He's saying, I'm just really loose off a 6. No matter what I do, the rest of the racetrack, I'm pretty tight. And then he said also that brake pedal, he says, I keep having to pump it. It feels like it's a little bit off. His crew chief, though, did make a note and say, you know what, I'm really proud of what we are doing here today. Then for Brent Cruz, he's loose off, tight in the center, but said he can't give up that rear grip. Now, the nose is a little caved in, so you can see the guys doing some repair work to that. They're also doing a right front shock adjustment and track bar as well for the 18.
Thank you both. See the work continuing and some damage repair for Cruz as well as for Thomas Annunziata, who were involved in that turn 1, lap 1 incident. Let's take a look at the Richmond mid-race report as we've just eclipsed halfway in the Lime Rock Park 100. Again, the 9th race of the 2025 ARCA Menards Series season, and it's been a fun one.
Been a competitive race. You see we've had 3 leaders, 6 lead changes. 10 cars remain on the lead lap, but the big question right now is what is going to happen to the 25 of Alonde. You see him in the pits right now. He will have to go to the tail for this restart. As much work as he did to get up front here, that is going to be one of the biggest penalties that you can incur by not coming to pit road when pit road was open.
Absolutely. That is a huge miscommunication, and I know the entry does sneak up fast here at Lime Rock. You know, it's right off of turn 7, but for them to just not get that information to him, you can see there how quickly you need to turn it off. So I could see how you'd miss it, but again, you just got to make sure that communication is cleaned up to know, hey, pits are open, coming this time. You see everyone else was fortunate to still come down pit road. It's easy to follow the leader in those situations.
And remember now, this is his first ARCA Menards Series race, so obviously it's brand new to him. So that's incumbent on the crew chief and the spotters to say, hey, guy, you're coming in this time. We're pitting this time. You know, get in your pit box. We got 5 minutes. Don't speed or whatever. But they had to tell him to come down pit road, and unfortunately they didn't, and it probably will cost him a shot at the win.
Perhaps the good news for Alonde and that team, if you want to use the first half of the race as a litmus test, Thomas Annunziata, who had a problem on the first lap and fell to the back, worked his way up to 4th at the time of this break. When we come back, we'll get the Lime Rock Park 100 back underway. Alonde, the leader, going to drop to the rear. We'll be back to line them up right after this. Back here closing out our weekend at Lime Rock Park on Fox, and we just had quite the development in the ARCA Menards Series with our race leader, Alonde. Crew Chief Jamie Jones is with Alex.
Jamie, we saw the driver not be able to come down pit road. What happened there?
Just a miscommunication. You know, it's a language thing, and he's trying to learn everything, and we're trying to help him, and it just happens.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Alex. And you know, and Trevor, you made a good point. Good thing he didn't lead the rest of the Army off the cliff, because he was the first one to make that mistake.
Well, it's funny. We saw that happen in the truck series earlier with the choose. The first couple cars kind of chose inadvertently, and everybody else thought, oh man, I got to pick my lane, and they all did it, and they were like, no, it wasn't the lap to choose yet.
That was practice.
So to do it again
that was
later.
practice.
But it's a little bit of follow the leader sometimes.
It's starting to turn into a bit of a race that you may or may not want to lead. We saw a front row tangle on lap 1, and the car that has led the most laps up to this point, 19 in total of the 35 we have completed. Alonde now being sent to the rear as we are getting set for this restart with Lawless Allen back at the front of the field. With Brendan Queen, the points leader, starting alongside. Top 2 in the points, top 2 in the race in inverse order, with our initial front row of Annunziata and Cruz in row 2.
Yeah, bad news is Alonde. We thought that maybe he would go back to the end of the lead lap cars, but he went all the way to the back of the pack. And you look at the gap back there, some of the stragglers aren't keeping up.
Time to get back underway. 32 laps to go from Lime Rock, and it's Lawless Allen bringing us back to green.
Thomas Annunziata behind. Oh, he pays it back to the 20 of Lawless Allen, runs him up the racetrack.
And that's going to shove Butterbean out wide and out of the top 5 as well. Annunziata back to the point, and that restart is under review by ARCA officials.
Remember, you cannot beat the leader to the start line. As Trevor mentioned, there's no restart zone. There's a restart line. You cannot beat him to that line.
And Trevor, I'm with you. I think that might have been a little bit of payback from that start. Annunziata to the back of Lawless Alan and back to the lead.
See Gimmel trying to move to the outside for a moment of the 20 of Lawless Alan.
Oh! Quarterly gets tagged by Brent Cruz and spins around off turn 6.
Keeps it going, does a nice job doing a 360.
Yeah, and we saw Del Quarterly and Brent Cruz get together off of turn 2. Then again there, Brent Cruz to the inside of turn 6, ran up over the curb, still clipped the 4 of Del Quarterly.
We stay green. Let's take a look at it. Right side of your screen. You see the 18 moves to the inside. He was up to his door, runs over the curb, and makes contact with Quarterly.
Quarterly lights up the tires. Everybody behind does a great job to keep it rolling. And Butterbean Queen was able to get through that. And the good news for not only Brendan Queen, but Lawless Alan. ARCA officials deem that restart good to go. They'll retain their spots.
Remember now, we will not have any other scheduled cautions. Obviously, for trouble on the racetrack, we could get one. But Alande right now finds himself 11.5 seconds behind our leader.
Well, and the bad news for Alande is our new leader, Thomas Annunziata, has been one of our fastest cars. He was on the pole, lost the lead early on that restart contact, recovered from falling back to around 13th place after that spin, and now has the lead again. It's going to be very tough to catch up.
Cruz makes the pass on Gimmel. That's the 3rd spot. Put Brent Cruz now up to 3rd.
He'll set his sights on Lawless Alan to try to get back up to where he started, a position he has not seen at the completion of a lap of this race after spinning off course on the opening circuit. Let's go back to the start of the race. This was how things began for Thomas Annunziata far left, Brent Cruz on the door, Allen in the grass, and it all came undone going into turn 1.
You see Allen lock up the brakes. That was not intentional. He didn't mean to come in there and dump the 70 of Annunziata, but that's exactly what happened.
Annunziata said, meant to or not, I'm getting you back, buddy. Moved him up the racetrack. He did not spin him, though. He just moved him up the track and made quick work to get to the lead on that last restart.
Here's Brent Cruz. You see the highs and lows of his day so far, even though he started 2nd. Currently running in the 3rd spot. That's the highest he's been at the completion of any of these laps. He is all over the backside of Lawless Alan for the runner-up spot.
2 previous road course races in ARCA for Brent Cruz. 2nd at Mid-Ohio, 3rd at Watkins Glen. Never finished outside the top 3 in the 2 starts.
This battle's going to go around Tim Goulet with Cruz now peeking down low.
See Cruz ran over the curb there, lost a couple car lengths to Lawless Alan.
Whoa, Lawless. A little sideways off of 7.
Cruz knows he needs to make quick work of him. They're losing touch with Annunziata.
It's not. Oh, gets by him on the outside. I don't know if Lawless Alan said, you're faster. See what you got. See if you can go track him down. But not typically a move we see to be able to clear on the outside like that into turn 1.
Now Brent Cruz has clear racetrack. We'll see what his pace looks like compared to the 70 of Annunziata.
Last time by, a 7/10 gap there, Eric. We'll see if it's any closer this lap.
Got a quick glimpse of your leader, Annunziata, and here's Brent Cruz. And Cruz, 17 years old, not old enough yet to compete on the intermediate racetracks. This is his 10th ARCA start and 2nd of this season, driving for Joe Gibbs. And you have to imagine that driving for this 18 bunch also carries a good bit of pressure. Hard to believe that that pressure comes with Cruz having a 33% win percentage in his ARCA career, 2 wins on dirt, and a win on Phoenix earlier this season that came in dramatic fashion, trying to go 2 for 2 here on the road course.
Here's our last lap at Phoenix. A little bit of contact. Butterbean had the lead. Bounces off the outside wall. The 18 gets to the start-finish line to grab that win.
First and only ARCA national start. As Phil mentioned earlier, he ran the East race at Rockingham, won that going away. Now in his 2nd appearance in the JGR 18 in 2025, looking for his first ARCA win on a road course. He's 1 spot shy of trying to make it happen. For more on the 18, here's Alex.
Yeah, you guys talking about the 18. Brent came across the radio and said, my car is so good. He also has quite the experience and quite the resume on the road courses for such a young driver. He finished 3rd at Watkins Glen in 2023 and 2nd at Mid-Ohio in 2024. I know he would like to make it a first-place finish here today at Lime Rock.
Thanks, Alex. And so far, looking at the stopwatch, Annunziata has been quicker than Cruz, but not by much over the last few laps.
Yeah, Cruz was actually 3/10 quicker the lap before that, but he ran into some traffic, and he was a little bit slower that time than Annunziata.
And I would imagine traffic is going to play a major factor. We had that restart. We're starting to see, drivers going multiple laps down, but as you catch people, especially the outside of our top 10, looking at the 11 there, Boschem being 46 seconds behind our leaders. So in a couple laps, we can start catching some faster cars that put up more of a fight to not go a lap down.
And Olande is back up to 9th, but 15 seconds off the leaders. Thomas Annunziata finds himself back out in front of the field. 25 laps to go from Lime Rock. Back at Lime Rock Park, and the fans are enjoying what is now the final 22 laps of the Lime Rock Park 100 for the ARCA Menards Series. And currently, Thomas Annunziata, the pole sitter, leads the field, but the box score does not tell the entire story. He's had to battle back to get there, and he's trying to do something that hasn't been done since 2009. Road racing ace Patrick Long was the last driver to win his first career ARCA Menards Series race on a road course. Annunziata trying to break that streak and do so here today. The gap, however, to Brent Cruz starting to close as we've got a car that has stopped Michael Maples. Similarly to where the team car had a problem to start off this race, now Maples finds himself off track, as does Tim Goulet.
And that will change everything.
Caution number 4 is going to fly for Michael Maples, who has come to a stop in the Big Bend. We kicked the race off with an issue with the team car, the 67 of Austin Vaughn, and Brent Cruz, just prior to the yellow, had carved into Annunziata's lead.
He closed about a second and a half, running faster every lap. Now we're going to have an amazing restart, at least one restart. Cautions breed cautions, but it's going to be really interesting. Alon Day had made his way up to the 6th spot, so this is a lifeline for him to possibly get back up in contention.
Absolutely, Phil. This will close that gap up for him. Again, just like Annunziata and Cruz coming from the back, you got to wonder how much tire did he use up over those 15 laps, gaining the track position. Also for Brent Cruz and Annunziata, how much have they been pacing themselves? Annunziata had the lead. Was he just kind of taking care of his equipment there? But right before that caution, Phil, you and I looked over at each other. We have the luxury of having every camera that we can see the whole racetrack, and we're looking out at it, and man, there was dust flying everywhere. We said, this looks like a caution's coming soon.
I think there were cars off in every corner, it seemed like, on every camera we had. But here's Alon Day. Boy, would I love to see him overcome that penalty, get back up here and race at the front of this field.
He's talked about the personal meaning behind this race and opportunity. He will be within striking distance of the front runners when we restart this race. The finish of the Lime Rock Park 100 coming up. Welcome back to the Lime Rock Park 100, round number 9 of the 2025 ARCA Menards Series season. Let's take a look at today's Bounty Rookie Spotlight, and it's a driver who's visited victory lane 3 times already this season and is the current points leader, Brendan Butterbean Queen.
Okay, the Cars Tour champion last year, 3 wins already this year. A short track ace, and he's won at Daytona, Kansas, and Michigan. About as far away from a short track as you can get.
And currently making his first big road course start. For more, let's check in with Caitlin.
Yeah, guys, we talked about his inexperience on these road courses, but definitely having a strong showing here today and adding to that already very impressive season you guys talked about. When I spoke to him, he told me it has been a dream season, achieving things a late model racer could only dream of, winning on these premier tracks. But he attributes a lot of his success to that man right there, his crew chief, Steven Dawson, who has greatly improved his racecraft. He told me he's everything you could ask for transitioning to this series in terms of a crew chief. And it's also Steven's first year on top of the box crew chiefing at this level, so they have been achieving a lot of firsts together in a relatively short period of time, guys.
Thanks, Caitlin, and just a remarkable effort by all involved, and for Butterbean to really be right up there, pretty much top 5 in the running order, top 5 in pace all afternoon long, or something he doesn't know all that well.
Yeah, I was talking to his guys, and they said, we feel like if we come out here with a top 5, we'll be happy, maybe top 3, and he's in shouting distance right now of that. Critical restart coming, those guys.
So the front row looks exactly as it did to start this race. Thomas Annunziata choosing drivers right. Brett Cruz alongside. Lawless Allen inside of row 2 as he was at the start of this race, with Butterbean in 4th.
Yeah, if I'm Annunziata, I'm watching that mirror a little bit, getting into turn 1 for sure. Brett Cruz took the outside. I might have taken the inside and given up a row here potentially to be on the bottom.
And watch Alonde outside row 3. He's led the most laps today.
Oh.
Back underway with 17 to go. Cruz has the edge there at the line. And here's Allen peeking 3 wide to the inside, but he tucks back in line.
Strong move on the outside by Cruz.
They get pushed wide by Annunziata, but going to be able to take second place back. A lot of pressure on Annunziata through 3. Now he's going to be on the outside through 4. Not exactly where he wants to be if he can cross back over to get under him on exit.
And he does just that. And contact there off the corner as the restart's under review. Cruz muscles his way to the race lead.
What a great move by Cruz.
And
talked about the fact that you could not beat the leader to the restart line. That's exactly what the ARCA officials have called. He will have to make a pass-through penalty.
He bounced his way to the race lead, but he's going to get drop kicked to the tail. Penalty coming for Cruz as Allen and Butterbean are side by side for 3rd. And Cruz will serve the penalty this time by.
I mean, you can just feel the pit that has to be in Brett Cruz's stomach right now after everything he's fought through this weekend on the truck side here in ARCA. Let's take a look at this restart.
We talked about how critical. Look, he's ahead already there. I think he was obviously. ARCA officials had to make that call. He was definitely ahead of him when he got to the restart line.
Yeah, so hard to see that because the restart is in the corner, and if you're on the outside, you may have a little bit more drive in that preferred lane where the bottom has some trash, but hard to tell from that view exactly who launched first.
Alonde now up to the 4th spot. That's him right behind that blue teammate, Lawless Allen. Moves to the inside of Lawless Allen.
And Day knows he's got to go. That's Ryan Gamble behind him in a 29, trying to follow him through, and Lawless Allen will defend the spot for now. With a big slide off of 7.
Seen Alon be very good into the braking zone. Lawless Allen has tended to block that bottom, give up the outside. Going to be very hard to get that position from the outside as he crosses over. Maybe he can pack some air here to get him loose off of 2.
Such a long corner, turns 1 and 2, over 180 degrees of right-hand turn.
Race leader has broken off about 3 seconds ahead of this spirited fight for 3rd. That includes Allen, Day, Gemmel, your top 5. Jeff Anton in his return to stock car competition, running in 6th.
I think the battle right now is for that 3rd spot between Lawless Allen and that 20, that blue 20 and the dark blue 25.
Whoa, off of 6 there, using a little bit too much racetrack.
Here's the best passing zone.
They pull out a line.
We've seen Lawless Allen block that when he needs to. Didn't have to that time. Alonde wasn't close enough.
Yeah, and that move there, Phil, you know, you might ask, why would you pull out when you're 5 car lengths back? But sometimes, again, just getting in their mirror, make them make a mistake. And it looks like that's what Alon's trying to do here, as Lawless Allen has gotten a little bit, I don't want to call it sloppy, but he's offline a little bit more right now than we've seen him all race long, just hustling that race car.
See, Annunziata opened up a little bit over a second lead on Butterbean. What a great job Butterbean's done. We just documented the fact this is his first ever road course race of any kind, right now running second.
Starting to hear those tires squeal a little bit more, getting around every end of this racetrack as Day is trying to size up Lawless Allen for third again on the front straightaway, and he's got a good run this time.
Lawless Allen blocking that inside, saying, hey, if you want to go by, you're going to have to do it the hard way. Alon's going to try to challenge the braking zone here. Gets to his outside, but again, not the preferred lane through this corner.
Such a long corner as we just talked about. Let's see if Alon can maybe cross him over. Off turn number 4 here, leading to the Paul Newman straightaway.
These two now about a second and a half behind Brendan Queen, who rides second. They both hustle the car up over the uphill climb to turn 5.
I think Lawless Allen right now isn't thinking anything about Butterbean. He's got to be thinking about this 25 that's in his trunk.
Well, Alon's closing the gap easily there through turns 5 and 6. Now able to get to the inside. Lawless Allen has to concede the inside lane into turn 1, and this should be a fairly easy pass for Alon Day.
As long as he doesn't overcook it. And he doesn't. Nice move by Alon Day to grab that third spot.
Lawless Allen keeping the pressure on his rear bumper. They're not letting him get far here.
Now Day needs to find about 2 seconds to get up to Brendan Queen for second. And 4 seconds to get up to Annunziata. That move for third spot is going to go down as another Reese's Sweet Move of the race nominee. And is it enough time for Alon Day to chase down the leaders? Being one of the dominant cars today, here's how he got to a podium spot.
Had such a good run up off the corner off turn 7. Got even with Lawless Allen. He couldn't pull over and block. And does not overdrive the corner. Successfully makes that pass for third.
Don't forget to visit ARCARacing.com Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern to see who walks away with the Reese's Sweet Move from Lime Rock Park as you've got Goulet off course in the Big Bend. A couple of lead lap cars trying to fight their way through this mess, and Alon Day is trying to make the best of it. He's slicing up towards Butterbean as he bounces off of Goulet there through the left-hander.
He knows time is running out, only 11 laps to go.
Look at all the dirt.
He is hustling that car, isn't he?
You can see how many cars and drivers are getting off course and starting to litter some of the most pivotal parts of the racetrack with grass, dirt, rock, and more.
Trevor and I were talking a few moments ago. If you catch a lap car in the wrong spot and have to follow him for 2 or 3 corners, you can lose so much time.
And it looks like Thomas Annunziata has made it through most of the heavy lifting of the lap traffic for now. So he's in some clean racetrack. See what kind of lap times these 3 drivers can make. The last lap was quite a bit off their normal pace.
Mike Basham, the 11 car, is the last car on the lead lap, and he's about 10 seconds ahead of Thomas Annunziata right now.
So after the contact and spin in turn 1, lap 1, Annunziata methodically worked his way back up to the front of the field. And Brent Cruz, who was the fastest car on the racetrack last time around, after the restart penalty was levied with 12 laps to go, is currently scored in 21 seconds behind Annunziata.
And
I think he'd have to have at least one, maybe 2 or 3 cautions and restarts here in these last 10 laps.
yeah, absolutely. And I think probably what's going to hurt Brent the most is knowing that he ended up giving up the lead. He ended up, losing the lead to Annunziata on that restart. Annunziata got by through turns 1 and 2. He fell to second and then found a way back by him. So for him, that's going to be tough to know that that little bit of a jump wasn't what got him the lead, and he didn't have to do that. If he went early in that zone, it wasn't necessary in order to get him that lead.
As we check in on Cruz, let's hear more on the 70th race leader, Thomas Annunziata, from Alex.
Annunziato with over a 3-second lead on Brandon Queen there, but talking with Thomas earlier at the start of the race, this being his first career ARCA pole, his 4th career ARCA Menards Series start. He has 3 Trans Am starts at Lime Rock, a runner-up place finish in that Trans Am Series in 2025, but he has a nickname. It's Hollywood, and he's from about 3 hours away in Colts Neck, New Jersey. I asked him, how'd you get the nickname Hollywood, and do you like that nickname? He said, I embrace it, and imagine how Hollywood he would feel if he makes it to victory lane here 3 hours from his hometown.
Alex, he told you why, or that he embraced it. I don't know that we got a why, though. What was,
Just he embraced
what do you think
it, yeah.
there?
I think I would be a little too humble to come in.
I kept asking the why. I think that it was just based off of social media and the fact that he looks a little Hollywood.
I think I saw a uniform when, and he had Hollywood where he would have his name. So
I saw that.
I think he certainly has embraced it. And again, he may take this thing to victory lane. Caught a glimpse of his crew chief, Shannon Rush. So much success here in the ARCA Series. Won 10 races a few years ago with Jesse Love. He won Watkins Glen with Corey Heim back in 2021.
And Annunziata has been able to maintain what is north of a 3-second lead over what is starting to be a closer battle for second spot, with Alande starting to reel in Brendan Queen. There's the gap from Annunziata, the leader, back to what's about to be a 2-car tussle for second, coming around to 6 laps to go.
Alande has been a man on a mission since that huge penalty at the mid-race break. There he is, pulling over, as you mentioned, to try to get out of the mirror. Try to get out where Butterbean can look in the mirror and not be able to see him. We saw Alande work over that 20 of Lawless Allen to grab that 3rd spot. I think he'll be doing the same thing with Butterbean here.
Definitely been some tire fall off here the last few laps. We're seeing those leaders down to the 57-second bracket. Remember, they qualified 54 seconds, so 3 seconds off that. You can imagine how ill-handling these race cars are now as they're challenging them coming into the last few laps of the race.
We saw a similar fall off in the Truck Series race as well.
This is where Day was able to make the pass on Lawless Allen for 3rd a handful of laps ago, but not quite close enough to threaten Butterbean. But again, trying to get out of his vantage point going into 1.
You know, the other thing that Alon's doing there is cooling his brakes. You're behind someone. If you've been challenging your brakes a lot, they'll get hot. So when he pulls out a line there, creates some air on the front of that nose, cool the engine, cool the brakes down, so that when he does have a shot, he's got everything he needs.
Some heavy traffic. There are 3 lap cars in addition to our leader, Thomas Annunziato, right there in front of this battle.
Annunziata was able to get through it. That's Brayton Laster in the 06, Alex Club in the 03, Tim Goulet in the 31. Butterbean's not going to be able to get by the 31 through turn 6, which means this downhill could get a little sketchy. Oh, and Day is going to send it in there.
Yeah, and that was much better timing for Alon Day than it was for Brendan Queen. He was able to catch him kind of center off the corner and keep that momentum up.
Just 4 laps to go. Keep you updated with Brent Cruz. He's been able to grab the 8th spot from Isabella Robusto.
They're going to need some wheelbarrows full of dirt here to refill all these holes we're leaving on the racetrack. Running off course, see dust flying everywhere still. Maximizing every ounce, sliding on these exits.
That was a battle right there. LeVar Scott just grabbed the 6th spot from Jeff Anton. Again, there's Brett Cruz in 8th. He's got those 2 cars in his sights.
And he's a couple seconds faster than both of those drivers right now.
He's got about 3.5 laps to try to climb further up the running order. As now it will be Scott and Anton catching that pack of cars. We're just in front of the leaders as we check back in on 2nd place.
Butterbean is doing a really nice job getting off turn 7.
Oh, bit of wheel hop there. And he's off course.
Maybe not as much going in turn 1 as he was off turn 7.
And how much does it cost him? He lost second today. Lawless Allen appears to have gotten by as well.
It's going to cost him a couple spots for sure. He will hold on to the 4th spot.
And we've seen a lot of tire lockup getting into one, but for Brendan Queen here, let's check it out. Yeah, the rear end you see the chatter in the left rear tire. That's the brake bias. When you're battling a tight race car like he might be through the slower section, you start adding rear brake to it. It also helps not lock up those front tires you challenge that turn 1 brake zone. But if you go too far or you don't match your RPM just right, when you downshift, it's easy to get that rear end to bounce. Very tough to recover from.
The only way you can help that is let off the brake, and then you're in the corner too hard.
Yeah, you can also add the gas a little bit. You know, try to get that RPM back up in the drivetrain and try to match that, which is tough to tell yourself when you're slowing down for a corner to touch the throttle.
So that gets Alonde back up to second. The bad news is he's got a lap and a half to go, and he needs 4+ seconds to chase down Thomas Annunziata. We've had 10 lead changes so far today. That's the most on an ARCA road course since Palm Beach back in 2010.
This is the 32nd time that ARCA Menards Series has raced on a road course out of 1,582 total races since 1953. It's a pretty small percentage.
And Thomas Annunziata wants to be known as the first one to get a win at Lime Rock, and he is 1 lap away from doing it. White flag.
Right now, Thomas Annunziata saying, please, guys, stay on the racetrack. Remember, in the ARCA Menards Series, if the caution comes out on this last lap, we will have an overtime finish. So we have to get to the checkered flag.
Annunziata, who started on the pole for this Nitro Motorsports team that had to shift plans in 2025 at Berlin Raceway. Tag Trayton Lapsevich got the job done for the team. Their first win as an ARCA organization. Handed the keys over to Thomas Annunziata, who started on the pole, got spun on lap 1, and battled his way back to try to seize his opportunity. His crew chief, Shannon Rush, watching along. It's about a 3-hour drive back to Colts Neck, New Jersey, and that's where Thomas Annunziata is going to bring the trophy. Checkered flag and first career win at Lime Rock Park for Thomas Annunziata. Second win in 3 races for the Nitro Motorsports team. And it did not come easy.
Shannon Rush knows how to celebrate. He's been able to do that a bunch here in this series.
Car owner Nick Tucker has worked with Thomas throughout the years, throughout his time in karting, and giving him the opportunity to run the Trans Am car, which he has had so much success. And as Alex Weaver told us earlier, he's not done on the weekend. He's got to go out to Road America to try to do it all over again, but he's got some time to celebrate his first ARCA win.
As much elation as you feel for him getting his first win, my heart breaks for Alonde, who let that one possibly slip away from him with that mistake.
Absolutely. What a great recovery, though, to come back second after starting at the tail of the field on that last restart.
Yeah, there he is right there.
2 restarts ago, able to drive back up. Got to imagine he's asking what could have been had he come to pit road.
Another solid day for Lawless Allen. Continues to impress as Annunziata does a little 360 there.
Going to work on his burnouts a little bit here. Hopefully he'll have some more opportunity to figure this out.
He's not done. He said that wasn't good enough.
Maybe Hollywood.
That's better. There we go. Yeah.
A little bit of Hollywood stunt driving to get that burnout going.
Right. Yeah, and it's, you know, Phil, it's tough sometimes to live up to the hype. We talked a lot about the road course ringers coming into this, and we see it time and time again in every series where when there's a lot of expectation, it's almost like this built up, you know, anxiety or expectation. You go out and you make mistakes and you have things happen or it doesn't go your way. But for all of our ringers today, almost all of them had something happen they had to overcome. Thomas Annunziata, one of those drivers that had to fight back.
His previous best finish, second at Daytona 2024. That was his ARCA Menards Series debut. He's been running several races for the Cope family racing team on the NASCAR Xfinity Series side. Third driver to win from the pole this season. Fifth win on the year for Toyota. That's the most amongst all manufacturers so far in 2025. And Thomas Annunziata has just made quite the splash in the ARCA Menards Series at a discipline which he has excelled at since he started racing.
But I think what makes these drivers more dangerous, even with their road racing experience, is the fact that he's run these cars. He's run the Xfinity cars. He's in this type of car, and that makes them even more dangerous on a road course.
For Nitro Motorsports, the team, this is their second win as an organization, their first on a road course. As we mentioned, Trayton Lapsevich got the job done just 2 races ago on the short track. It's Annunziata with a bag of ice waiting on him on what is a really warm day here in northwestern Connecticut, with the agony of defeat on the other side for Alon Day after the penalty for pitting or missing pit road on the race break. The thrill of victory, though, goes to Thomas Annunziata, who climbs from the car, an ARCA Menards Series winner at Lime Rock.
Let's go.
Caitlin Vinci is down in victory lane with Thomas Annunziata.
It was a long day of racing for Thomas, and it wasn't without drama. An incident right at the beginning. You methodically made your way back. Getting a lot of congratulations. How special is this moment? How special is this win for you?
No, it means a lot, especially after what happened in the truck race. I mean, we had a great run going, and we got taken out at the end, and then got taken out in the beginning of this race too. So I wasn't very cool, and they helped me stay calm. But oh my gosh, I can't thank Toyota and Nitro Motorsports, Spenterini enough for taking this chance on me. I mean, this is the first time I'm in real winning equipment, and I get to showcase my talent. And that was so good. There's no better way to win that than just go back to last and have to make a comeback. So my family's here watching, so shout out to them. I'm super excited for them to see me do this, and yeah, thank you.
How do you feel like this performance further solidifies? You need to have more opportunities like this and be a part of this NASCAR side more regularly.
Well, that's why I haven't quit, and that's why these guys haven't quit on me. I know what I have, I know the talent I have behind me, and I know how good these guys are, and we trust each other, so let's go.
Congratulations, enjoy this one. Thomas Annunziata, the winner here at Lime Rock, guys.
Thanks, Caitlin. You know, Thomas has a great video on his social media highlighting how his career got started. It's moved up to the karting ranks, and he's now an ARCA Menards Series winner. More to come from Lime Rock. Back at Lime Rock Park, where we have just wrapped up the 9th race in 2025, and you saw Thomas Annunziata charge from the back after turn 1, lap 1 contact. Another car and driver involved, Brent Cruz, who also fought his way back up to a front row spot for the last restart of the race when it all came unglued.
We talk about the restart line, how important it is not to beat the leader to the restart line here in the series. And unfortunately, ARCA went back and looked at it and deemed that he definitely beat him to the... Now, that start-finish line is not the restart line. That's the restart line.
And the clear evidence is there that Cruz was ahead of Annunziata on that last restart. Let's hear from him. Alex Weaver is with Brent Cruz.
I'm standing with Brent, who obviously is taking a look at that restart video and the photo. Brent, your reaction as you see that?
Yeah, I just want to say I want to give the Lord thanks for keeping me safe out there today. There's a lot that happened, and this Joe Gibbs racing crew did an amazing job all day. I'm grateful to be in this position and, you know, keep getting shots at wins. And obviously, a little bit of a mistake on my part. Also kind of sucks when, you know, it's just a line that you go off of, and you know, the leader was playing games all day and just slammed on the brakes, and, you know, I pretty much did all I could dragging the brake, but he was already behind me. So yeah, I just got to put that in my memory bank and, you know, just try to do a better job anticipating that for next time. But we obviously had the winning car today, and I feel like the winning driver for most of it. But yeah, this Mobil 1 Toyota Camry was fabulous all day, and was just happy to have a shot at the win.
Thank you, Brent. Guys, disappointment, you can feel it from here.
There will be more opportunities for Cruz. He's got 7 more truck races on the docket, more ARCA starts as well. But a solid day overall, able to rebound from 2 mishaps to get back up to 6th in what was green flag conditions from that penalty towards the end of the run. But nobody had anything today for our General Tire Pole Award winner, Thomas Annunziata. And this will be our final Reese's Sweet Move nominee of this race, Hollywood, burning them down. Don't forget to check out ARCARacing.com Monday, 3 p.m. See who walks away from Lime Rock with our Reese's Sweet Move of the race. Well, the runner-up effort for Alande also doesn't tell the whole tale of the tape for not only his day, but how he got here. To wrap up that story, we'll go back to Caitlin.
Yeah, Eric, we documented his today. Alain getting a runner-up finish after having that miscommunication coming to pit road. But how would you sum up this day and this whole experience for you?
I need better English, I guess. It's hard to swallow. What can I say? I mean, I felt already that victory in my hand. I really wanted that victory, but I'm so sorry for everybody. I mean, I did all I can. It was a hard journey. I thought I'm gonna get a win, but anyway, the JSSI car was so quick. I'm so thankful for the opportunity they gave me to be here in American soil and race here. I mean, I love racing in America. And yeah, what can I say? Venturini guys did an amazing job. I mean, I feel so sorry for them. But at least I have the speed to hold the lead, and I have the speed also to pass some people. Up to the next one, Sonoma.
Yeah, you mentioned racing in America, so you're going to be staying out here for a couple weeks and competing in Sonoma. How much are you looking forward to that? I heard you say I'm going to win that one.
Yeah, I better win that one. I'm not going home if I'm not going to win. Yeah, I need some redemption after that.
Thanks so much for your time. Nice job today. Alande, the runner-up, moving on, and he'll be at Sonoma with the series. Eric.
Thanks, Caitlin, and he will get that shot. And we checked on how Brent Cruz Day came undone. Here's what happened to Alande coming down for the pit lane for the race break. Drove right on by it.
Yeah, just reduced speed. I mean, just, again, miscommunication is all that was. I mean, again, I think it's incumbent on the crew chief and the spotter to enforce that and reinforce that, to say, come down pit road this time, come down pit road this time. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and he paid the price. Still, a great recovery, though, to finish second, and he certainly proved, as he mentioned, he proved that he belonged here and had the speed to possibly go to victory lane.
I think it's safe to say a lot of drivers were able to work their way back from some form of adversity throughout today's race, whether it was a penalty, whether it was getting off track, or like our race winner and ending up just about backwards in turn 1. As we check the unofficial results, Annunziata, Day, Lawless Allen, your podium, Brendan Queen, Ryan Gemmel's getting married in 2 weeks, got something to celebrate, his first career ARCA top 5.
See, Brent Cruz recovered for a 6th place finish. LeVar Scott has consistently remained 7th place finish for him.
Del Quarterly, double duty today, a lot of laps. 168 to be exact with the truck race, and the ARCA race brought it home in 9th. Isabella Robusto in 10th.
See a couple of drivers who had some problems, including the biggest bit of contact we had on the weekend, Kitzmiller and Ed Pompa, 19th and 20th respectively, after a hard crash off the final corner. What a fun race. Had a lot to talk about, a lot to follow all the way through. Hate that we've got to wait a little bit for our next one. We've got 3 exciting venues up next for the ARCA Menards Series. The Monster Mile in Dover, July 18th is our next stop.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple weeks off in a row, and then we're going to do some serious racing, as you mentioned, Dover, then IRP, and then Iowa, that great 7/8 of a mile racetrack in Iowa.
Some awesome racetracks coming up. Really challenging, though. Dover, the ups and downs of the corners. IRP sliding around with low grip, then Iowa. Fun racetrack.
Been a great year for the ARCA Menards Series. 6 first-time winners in the first 9 races. That's the most since 2010. We might see another when we get to Dover. Friday, July 18th, 5 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. It's been an unbelievable not only day with the ARCA Menards Series, but all across the board at Lime Rock Park for our first stop at this historic venue. Mike Joy got us started. Thomas Annunziata closed us out. What a night, what a day. The ARCA Menards Series from Lime Rock Park on behalf of Alex Weaver, Caitlin Vinci, Phil Parsons, Trevor Bain, and our entire production team. I'm Eric Brennan. So long from Lime Rock.